Welcome to Unsilent with your hosts Dave and Brian. This is not another current events podcast. We're digging deeper, diagnosing, and discussing what's really going on today, how we got here, and providing observations for future generations.
Welcome to Unsilent. We're Brian and Dave. We'd love to hear where you think we got it right and where you think our opinions are completely out in left field. You can do that by leaving us a comment on Rumble, YouTube, social media channels, and of course, visit us on unsilentpodcast.com. Brian, what's new in your world? What's new in the what's getting you excited?
Well, I'm gonna show you a video, but I'm not gonna play the audio because the audio it's in a small restaurant, so the audio is kind of garbled and stuff like that. So for people who are listening audio only, it would be annoying to listen to probably more than anything. But I'm gonna share. So over the last starting I don't know when did the $15 minimum wage month, when did that become like a chant that you would hear outside of places? It was like 2014.
Well, yeah, it's been because it really started up in SeaTac, Washington was kind of the just north of me here, about half an hour north of me is where kind of the whole movement started. Yeah, about probably 11 years ago.
Yeah, so it's been a while. It's been an ongoing thing, and now like if you made $15 an hour is minimum wage now with inflation, all this kind of stuff, like you're worse off than if you were making $8 an hour back then. I mean, inflation has gone up so much that we don't hear $15 an hour anymore. But when that whole movement started, there was as always, there's different camps and factions. Some people were like, hey, these people need to make more money, and other people were thinking, well, if you pay a fast food worker $15 an hour back then, you make a Big Mac so expensive that either people will buy fewer Big Macs or the corporation will have no choice other than to find a cheaper alternative to the $15 an hour employee. Right. We started seeing, I've not seen this in real life as far as like the robotic Big Mac making machines, but like there was videos of that thing before AI videos were a thing that were presumably real. But so here's the newest iteration though. I saw this. I was like, this is wild. This is, let me get my screen set up to share here. This is in New York City, where I don't even know what the minimum wage is there, but it's probably $25 an hour or something like that. Some crazy thing. I don't know. This is how you check out to pay for food at this chicken. They call it a chicken joint. I don't know what it is. It's a virtual terminal with a live person on like a Zoom call, but the person taking your money lives in the Philippines.
That, I mean, from a business perspective, that's brilliant. From a business perspective, that's brilliant.
You can see like the Zoom screen there. I'll pause the video. You can see the Zoom screen there with a live person sitting in her, living room or office or cubicle, however they have it set up. But there's no live person there to even interact with. It's all via Zoom because they're paying these people $3.25 an hour is what the story says. I don't know what they're actually paying, but I was like, that's kind of wild, man.
It is. Well, and it's utterly predictable, isn't it? I mean, it's 100% utterly predictable when you have a thing called the internet, and you've got I've got 3 employees, full-time employees in the Philippines, so I know all about doing business in the Philippines. I am actually a employer of people in the Philippines. None of my people that work there work for slave wages. The thing that you hear people like a lot of the union people here are going to say is, oh, well, it's slave. No. I mean, you can, in the Philippines, you can live an incredibly good middle-class life. Well, I mean, maybe not incredibly good, but you can live a good middle-class life for $1,500 a month. And, that gets you a tent in New York on the street, basically.
Right.
That's about all. Yeah. So it's unpredictable.
So after I saw this, I immediately thought of Kenny G, and Kenny G's going to look back at us and be like, well, how could you have done it any other way? Of course, that's how it works. Right. Because this is just, and then I was also kicking myself for not having the foresight to like think of that idea myself. Not that I own a restaurant, but I was like, I don't know if I would have thought of that. And then my third thought was, of course, this is how it has to go when you're in business. You have to find ways to cut costs, to not make things too expensive for your customers to buy. And this is just a predictable result of those things. So now, again, I don't have the solution necessarily. I just know that mandating certain dollars per hour for certain things, it sets the scale, meaning we as a society have decided that neurosurgeons are going to make a significantly more amount of money than landscapers. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's where we've landed. You could make landscaper pay, you could mandate that at $100 an hour. All that does is set the scale for people above it.
Right. Well,
the neurosurgeon is going to make whatever multiple of the landscaper wages, no matter what you set the minimum wages, in my opinion. Now, there's wage compression in the middle, and I don't want to get the weeds and all that kind of stuff. All I'm saying is it's a Band-Aid, and people in business who have to find ways to make their product attractive in price to the customers are going to do everything they can to mitigate costs. And that's just a rule of markets.
This is an economic law, Brian. I mean, I would put it just very strongly. It's an economic law, and so this is an interesting story also, because in Tacoma, I'm in Tacoma right now. In Tacoma right now, there is a city-based initiative that has not fully, hasn't been implemented yet. They're in the courts and all this stuff for $20 an hour. And the union folks I think it's like SEIU was behind it, and they're like, we have to get this done. And the discussion, and this really illustrates a couple of things. It illustrates the divide in the country on how we talk about things, because when you talk about wages, there's two camps in terms of how you talk about things. There's the camp that says, and this is the 15 and now 20, 25, whatever the number ends up being, it'll just keep going up. There's the camp that says, and this is very much worth exploring. I'd like to talk about this for a minute. There's the camp that says people can't live on that amount of money. They can't survive on that money, even if they're working a full-time job. Okay. Now, is that true? Well, yeah, probably is true. It's freaking expensive to live. And do people deserve to be able to survive and live? Yes, they do. Absolutely. 100% true. Now, let's just set that over here to the side for a moment, and let's look at actual reality. What if you're a person that has skills that people in the market are willing to pay you $10 an hour to do, or $12 an hour to do, or $15 an hour to do, and the minimum wage is $20 an hour, and nobody's willing to pay you that? Not the business owner. I'm not talking about the business owner. I'm talking about the value of something, because right. In a free market, what we have is Brian saying, I want this thing over here, whether it's somebody to mow their lawn, whether it's somebody to operate on his brain, whether it's a car. It doesn't matter what it is. Somebody has something, you want that something. You have in your mind how much you are willing to pay for that thing. And if those two things don't come together, you do not have to buy that thing. You right. don't have to buy it. And so there's a bunch of people with skills that are worth, skills and time and, energy, all the different things that they can offer to the market that are worth $13 an hour, $2 an hour, $5 an hour, whatever it happens to be. And those people under these regimes that say you have to pay $20 an hour or $25 an hour are effectively shut out of the market, because they don't have anything they can offer that's worth the amount of money that the law says has to be paid to them. So are you then, so the people that we've set aside over here that say, well, yeah, but they can't live. Yeah, they can't live if they don't have anybody that's willing to give them that amount of money. And it's not that the employer is the middleman here. The employer is the one that says, I can match up purchaser with seller. I can match up the labor with the person that is interested in buying the labor. And they don't have like a magic tree that has dollars on it that says, well, you're worth, that's the magic worth tree. You're worth X amount of money. Everybody's worth a lot more than $20 an hour, but that's not even the point. The point is that you're economically preventing a bunch of people, the people that you are actually wanting to be able to survive and to feed themselves, you're preventing a significant portion of them from living, or you are saying to them that the only thing you can do to survive is go get the money from charity or the government. Now, which of those realities, both of those realities, the reality of, these people can't survive on this amount of money, and the reality over here that nobody's willing to pay them that amount of money because they're not worth that much in terms of the value that they offer. Both of those realities are actual true things. Now, the only way you solve this is either with blunt force violence on the part of government that says you will do this, and then people will find, it's like water. It finds the path of least resistance. People will hire people out of the Philippines. They'll hire AIs. They'll hire burger making machines, and they'll do. And there's just a number of jobs. There are jobs that I would like to have done in my office right now that it's not worth it financially for me to have done. And so it just doesn't get done. See, the problem that the people over here on they're worth this amount of money say is, well, if the jobs have to be done. No, they don't. They do not have to be done. There's a ton of work that does not get done in society because it's too expensive to do. You don't have to do every piece of work that has to be done. That camp over here doesn't realize that. So you've got to find some methodology, and minimum wage has been always a compromise on, okay, well, we can't have anybody out there paying $1 an hour because it's going to tend to slave labor. A good argument. I'll buy that argument. I'm not a pure libertarian. But on the flip side of that, you're shutting so many people out of the market and shutting so much economy down by going the extreme in the other direction that you have this current problem that we've got. And we don't, and until both sides can say, well, this is the conflict, and it's not you're 100% wrong and I'm 100% right. No, there's both realities here. How do we bridge this reality and come to something that's workable as a society? And we don't have that answer right now. We just do not have that answer.
No, I don't know that this is a solvable problem. I think what I've seen in my career, well before I was a business owner, just as a person in different levels of leadership, is people. And I'm not saying they're wrong for doing this. We're human beings. We're emotionally driven in large part, right?
Of course.
But people conflating their hourly income to their value as a human. And those are separate things, right?
Totally separate.
Like you said it, some version of this you said a minute ago, which is, as people, we are invaluable. You can't go create another person like anybody else in the earth. None of us have the ability to. We're invaluable.
Exactly.
And simultaneously, certain jobs earn certain amounts of income.
Exactly right.
And they're separate when we talk about people exchanging money. And I think one of the best illustrations of this is in childcare. I would argue that as a parent, your child is hopefully like one of the most important things in your life.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. But there's a big chasm. Like I don't know very many parents would say like the welfare of their child isn't the paramount concern for at least a 20-year period of their lives as parents.
Absolutely.
Right?
Exactly.
And there's certain thresholds above which you cannot afford childcare. And so people who do childcare don't make what I would consider a reasonable amount of money to take care of this invaluable thing, a baby or a child or whatever.
Absolutely.
And mathematically, you can't be paying more for daycare than you earn after taxes in your own job.
It's impossible. It doesn't work. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a great illustration of like there cannot be unity between the value of people and the value of the job. Like I don't know how you would overcome that.
No,
right?
well, it's literally impossible to overcome. I see it on the flip side, on the age range thing too, because one of the lowest paying jobs around here in this country altogether is CNA, Certified Nursing Assistant, and those are the folks that take care of old people in nursing homes. They wipe their butts, they clean up their puke. It's a horrible, lots of stuff that like, I am so happy that I don't have to do this job. I mean, insanely valuable. Most of them make $18-19 an hour. Now, why do we have a shortage of CNAs? Because CNAs could say, I want to do this. I want to wipe old people's butts and clean up their poop and all this stuff. Or I can have fun all day hanging out as a barista and make $22 an hour plus tips. What am I going to choose? What am I going to choose? And so we've got all of these disconnects happening. And the only way we're ever going to get any kind of solution about this is if there's if all of those things get put on the table simultaneously, if let's take the unions and the chambers and the business people and the government, we all get there and say, look, these are all affordability is a huge, monstrous, big problem we've got. And yeah, you got to be able to survive. You got to be able to feed your kids. It's wrong that you can't. It's also, you're not going to make somebody pay $30 for a McDonald's hamburger. That's not going to happen either. Until you can do the both and approach of these things, then none of this stuff is ever going to get solved. And it goes back to our societal tribalism and yelling at each other instead of trying to come up with solutions.
Yeah. I had seen this earlier. I didn't save it for today, but I was able to search and find it while you were talking there. This is the price increases for McDonald's from 2019 to 2024. Now, I don't know if these are accurate. It's online. It could be all completely wrong, but it seems in the ballpark. So 2019, a cheeseburger was $1. And I do remember the dollar menu at McDonald's. Even though I
do remember that, yes. Fondly.
Dollar menu at McDonald's. That same cheeseburger is now $3.15. So a 215% increase. It's 315% as much now as it was then. 10-piece chicken McNugget, $4.49 in 2019, $7.58 now. So a little less than the 50% increase. Big Mac went from $3.99 to $7.49, a little less than 100% increase. A McChicken went from $1.29 to $3.89, so about a 200 and something% increase there. And then a medium French fry, $1.79 to $4.19. Now, again, I don't know if those numbers are right, but my point is, what's happened? What's changed between now and then? Labor's gotten more expensive,
right?
And so, what's the result? The goods get more expensive,
right?
That's how it works,
yeah,
right? And can we force that the price changes percentage in a percentage alignment with the wage increases? I don't know.
Well, no, see, it's not.
It seems pretty hard to do that.
It's not possible, because part of the problem with this equation is that none of these things exists in a vacuum. If you raise the cost of, let's just take the McDonald's, and you raise the cost of the McDonald's analogy, it isn't just rich people that are going to McDonald's and buying burgers. It's people on the lower end of the spectrum as well. If you raise the cost of just survival, and McDonald's prices go up, other prices go up, all of these base commodity prices go up, and this gets into deep economic theory, which I'm not qualified to speak on, but all these prices go up and the general cost of living goes up. And then what have you got? All of those gains that the lower end in the wage, in the low end wage categories are making now aren't having so much of an effect, having a positive effect, because the cost of living has gone up. So you can't just, it's like you can't just pour a glass of water in the swimming pool and say, okay, well, now it's going to be great, but the swimming pool just rose up. Now I need, it's cyclical, and it's the simplistic arguments don't work.
And I think what is exacerbating it in our era, so we're talking to Kenny G, the guy who lives 70 years from now and 50 years from now, whatever, is going to look back and wonder what was wrong with us. I think what exacerbates this in our era more than others in our country's short 250-year history is starting around the late 70s, let's say mid 80s, 90s for sure. There's a big push for people to go to higher education, meaning college,
right,
to get degrees in things that were about self-actualization, right. They were not about things that had a monetary ROI, right. So this big surge of people goes and gets gender studies degrees, and they come out of college and they have this awesome degree in gender studies, and then they find out just what you said a few minutes ago, which is that's fantastic, good for you, but the market is not willing to pay for that, what they're willing to pay for a civil engineer.
Right, exactly.
That's just not how it works. And so these people who have these great educations that are not really economically viable compared to people that, frankly, I'm gonna project my bias here, that I think, frankly, look down upon, like people in the trades.
Sure.
And say, well, I have this 4-year degree from Stanford, and that guy's an HVAC tech, and he's making 50% more than me. That's not fair.
Right.
And that's got to be a pretty sharp punch to the ego,
right.
I imagine. And you have you have a choice to make. You have one of two options at that moment. You can either blame yourself or you can blame them. And it's much easier to blame them.
Right.
And I think that's part of I think that's part of the tinder on the fire. There's certainly more economic disparity now than there probably has been
Absolutely.
since the last turning, if not ever. And I don't think that's great. I don't think a CEO should make 3 billion times more than the frontline factory worker. I think there's a problem with that.
Right.
I'm also not equipped to solve that problem. But I think that this push to go get higher education for things that are, again, I want to be careful with my words here, but kind of again, self-actualization endeavors, not financially viable endeavors,
right,
has really exacerbated the problem.
Well, in higher education is a good example of where a lot of that inflation has taken place that's messed everything up. So I was listening to something earlier today about the fact that I think it's like Southern Cal, one of the California systems, the people like 30 or 40% of the graduates, with bachelor's degrees couldn't pass a middle school math exam. There was a problem, I won't go into it specifically, but it was almost laughable. So there's been and since people that are hiring those people know that this bachelor's degree is essentially the equivalent of coming out of high school, maybe junior high if you're really cynical about the whole thing, then the push is now you've got to get masters and PhDs. You've got to get these more expensive degrees. So college has become insanely more expensive. The lower end degrees have been inflated to the point where there's very very little value for them, and that raises the cost of everything as well. Yeah. So when you disconnect economic reality from what let's get everybody smart. Okay, well, there's a good impulse. But when you say that getting everybody smart excludes the things you need to live, the plumbers, the electricians, the carpenter, the taxi driver, all the different things that are necessary to keep a society running, and you have these theoretical notions that are propagated by, PhDs from college philosophy schools, then you're going to just mess up the entire system and create artificial barriers to success for the entire culture. And that's what we have today, is artificial barriers to success because of all the things we've just discussed.
Yeah, and I didn't save this for today's conversation, but I did save it for something else. Here's something that came out about a week ago. U.S. college graduates unemployment now higher than during the GFC. Oh. Jobless rate for bachelor's degree or higher hits 9.3%.
Wow.
So, I mean, and by the way, to be clear, I think two things are true at once, or I can tell you two things are true at once. One, I think these people made a poor choice oftentimes in what they went and studied and didn't factor in the economic viability of that.
Right.
And simultaneously, I feel really bad for these people because they were probably led down that path.
Sure.
I'll tell you a true story. Okay, this is a true story that will matter for Kenny G. Otherwise, I wouldn't spin your wheels talking about it. I used to own a plumbing company. We started going, and you can't find a certified like journey level plumber. And by the way, I'm not a plumber. I don't know how to, I did the other things in the company. I can fix a couple of things. I'm not a plumber. There are people way more skilled at that than me. But you can't find a certified plumber. When I lived in Washington State, where you live, like they were retiring faster than we were creating new ones, essentially. Mm-hmm. The math was just not mathing, right? So as employers, we all started doing things that we had never thought of doing before, like going to high school job fairs where they would have the colleges there and the military would be there and there'd be industries like promoting hey, come learn about our industry. And we went and did this. And this is a true story, Dave, and this happened multiple times. One time I went to my own kids' high school and we got our booth, and it was, $50 or whatever to get a booth. And we had plumbing tools there, and we were talking about why you would want to get in the trades. And by the way, at that time, the average plumber in that area made somewhere double what the average high school teacher made. Mm-hmm. I'm not exaggerating that. Okay. Sure. These are good income jobs. The high school counselor a number of times brought over to our booth the kids that were in special ed. And I pulled her aside and I said, listen, I wish nothing but the best for these kids. But you can't hire somebody who can't go into somebody's home and instill confidence that you can fix a thing. And if they have trouble with speaking, for example.
Right.
And a couple of the kids she brought over had like serious impairments. And again, I wish nothing but the best for those people.
Sure,
But
sure.
my point of this is the high school counselor's view of the trades was that's where the dumb kids go.
Right.
And the smart kids go get their gender studies degrees because that's the way it's supposed to be. So again, all this illustrates my point that, I think they made a poor choice, these guys who went to school for these things that are not really economically viable degrees.
Right.
I feel really bad for them because they were pushed that way by people who should know better.
Well, and that's been the problem with the inflation of expectations and the inflation of and the inappropriate definition of what it means to be educated. To be educated as a plumber is just as valuable as to be educated as a CPA, because I need both. Now, I usually don't need the CPA in an emergency situation, but I sure as heck need the plumber when or the guy that's going to pump my septic tank when it blows up. So it's a misalignment of societal needs and values. And this happens when a society gets so affluent that it can decide it wants to ignore reality.
Right.
These are the things that keep the lights on here, that keep everything going, are the things that we need enough people to continue to be able to do. Running our power plants, or it's winter, well, it's fall, and the winter's coming in the Northwest, which means there's going to be windstorms, which means there's going to be power outages, and when the power is out, most of us get super grumpy about that, and we want to see those orange trucks all over the freaking place.
You want the linemen out there.
I want the linemen out there. I want them out there when it's snowing and when I don't want to go outside. And I'm angry because my house is now at 62 degrees and they're out there in 2 feet of snow trying to figure out why the bloody electricity doesn't work. I want tons of those people. I want massive, but they can't get enough people to go do that job because it's not sexy or whatever.
Well, and again, I'm gonna do this for a moment, and I will move on. But the snarky part of me says the irony of all of this, as it comes full circle, is there's no doubt that AI and robotics is going to change our world. There's no doubt about that. The safest jobs right now are in the trades. Good luck building a robot in the next couple of years that can get into a crawl space and drive a car and all those things. Good luck building a robot that can put on a new roof for you.
Yeah.
You can outsource that. You can outsource taking a credit card at a chicken joint to the Philippines, and you can make AI do basic bookkeeping functions. You cannot have AI or robotics fix a simple thing like taking your toilet off and replacing the wax seal and putting it back on. Yeah, we're so much further away from that reality than we are AI doing basic legal or whatever. Anyhow, it's my own snarky bias getting involved there again. Anyhow,
well, that's reality though. That's reality. I think that's important to recognize. That's reality, and that the jobs that I wouldn't necessarily be directing somebody into right now are software development jobs as much as I would have 10 years ago because of that reality.
Yeah, and when was it Biden or who shut down the coal industry, and the mantra was learn to code?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, one of those things that's going to go down to history is like one of the dumbest things ever said. Like the guy in 1868 or whatever it was that was in charge of the patent office.
Oh yeah,
and he declared that everything that could possibly be invented had been invented.
Yeah, a poor vision of the future.
Yeah. All right. Well, that went in a whole direction I wasn't really didn't anticipate for sure, but the future is here. The future is changing, I guess, in ways that it's hard for us to keep up with. Okay, so as far as like what's going on in the world of the stability of our country, I think the big story this week is I think yesterday, as you and I are recording this, the House voted nearly unanimously to release the Epstein files.
Yes, yeah.
And then went to the Senate, and presumably it's gonna pass there. And Trump has done this weird toggling back and forth. Like he campaigned on the release of these files, if I remember right.
He did. Am I getting that right? Oh no, he did. Okay. He absolutely said, he was,
So he campaigned on that, and again, like Trump or hate him, he seems to be pretty dialed into the things that his constituents care about, and he seems to stay on point. But he's made a radical deviation in this one thing, which either he's been baiting the Democrats into pushing so hard on this, and he's going to spring this trap on them, which could be, or there's something else driving his radical deviation from the transparency I mean, a few months ago, he was saying it was just a big hoax and this and that. So before we get into where we're at now, like, what do you make of all that?
Well, I don't understand. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't understand it because I mean, this whole thing when he says, oh, yeah, when he called it a hoax a few months ago, and he said, well, you don't need to be, he basically said, move on, nothing to see here, move on, nothing to see here. I mean, and when he was so on it before, when he was campaigning, like you were saying, I mean, and it absolutely looks like, well, he saw something that might implicate him. I mean, the natural look that anybody would who observed that would say is, well, obviously there's something there that's implicating him. I mean, there's no other way to interpret that.
I have an alternative theory.
Okay.
I think there's, but we don't have to get into that right this second. But I do have an alternative theory that is not that, but would explain why he did the radical shift. But
well, I mean, certainly it could be that he is baiting the Democrats. But then just this week, he was talking about the way he sort of spun it. This week was he directed Department of Justice to investigate all the Democrats that are involved in this. Right. It's like.
But also, we're skipping the part where they said that they were releasing the Epstein files back in like February, and they handed out those 3-ring binders.
Binders that had nothing in them. Yeah, right? Yeah, Pam Bondi handed out all these binders that were and all these people are like, oh yeah, we got the goods, and it's like there's nothing here. What's this all about?
So to put things in context, the closing the border, like he's been rock solid on that. Again, whether you're for or against it, he has stayed true to his word, like
100%
to 100%. Deporting illegals, 100%. Like he's stayed on point with that 100%. Right. The tariffs against tremendous headwinds from all kinds of people in his camp, not in his camp.
Yep.
He has stayed tried and true to that. He's doing it whether you like it or not.
Yep.
These things he stayed on point with. The Epstein thing, he's completely out of character, like going back and forth. So here's my hypothesis.
Okay, tell me.
From a guy who knows nothing about nothing, and I don't know anybody who lives in within 100 miles of Washington D.C. I know nothing about this stuff. I believe that, and I think you and I said this before, if he was somehow implicated when they were going after him so hard on all the legal stuff before, they would have come out. They would have found it. I mean, they gave him a financial and legal rectal exam that few people, if anybody's ever gone through.
Yes.
I think if there was a there, they would have found it.
Totally.
Or they're just incompetent. I lean towards they were trying so hard to find anything that they would have found it.
Of course.
So my hypothesis is what they found is, so our country, our bureaucracies, our institutions have done such horrible, heinous things that if and when the public ever found out, there might be like a legitimate like revolt.
Yeah. Well, that does make sense, and I think you and I have had some discussion on that before. I think that does fit all of the pegs going into all the right holes, because yes, there is no question that you could say that his opposition is incompetent in this area and that area, but they're definitely not incompetent when it comes to finding things to accuse him of. You know,
there's no force in the planet at this moment more powerful than the United States federal government legal bureaucracy.
Totally.
There's no force. You could argue that the military, maybe, that their conviction rate is like 98% There is no force, and they have nothing but time and nothing but money.
Yeah, and if there was something for
the
Trump,
most powerful force on the planet.
Yeah, if there was, and there was no more motivated, group of people than the anti-Trump. We can't ever let this guy get near the halls of power because it's basically the ultimate sacrilege. So yeah, they would have found it if there was something there about Trump. So I take that as sort of a priori evidence that there isn't something about Trump. So why would he? So the only explanation,
I wouldn't know. Like he could have been there 438 times. I wouldn't know. And he certainly likes attractive women, and he didn't marry anybody who was old.
Yeah, right. That's true. All of that is true, but he's also, I mean, whatever else you say about him, he does have some pretty good instincts about a variety of things. And his distancing himself from Epstein, may have not been a moral choice. It might have been oh crap, I could get burned on this down the road, so I think I'm out of here kind of thing. Yeah. So I'm not giving him credit.
He's the guy who used to negotiate, like legit negotiate shit with the mafia. I mean, like
Yeah.
he's not a street dumb guy. Like,
Right,
I think so. Again, I don't even want to get into that. I don't even have the faintest whiff to even formulate some kind of conjecture on why he would have done what he did with Epstein. That's not my point. What I'm saying is it's interesting to me that this is one of the, there's a few things, but this is the one that stands out the most, that he's absolutely pissing off his constituents,
Yeah.
seemingly for no reason, unless he's like legitimately thinking he's saving the union or something like that. Because he has such a big ego. Like,
oh yeah,
if he could burn Hillary Clinton and some of these other people, or Bill Clinton, and through which hurt Hillary Clinton and stuff, I believe his ego is so big that I think he just drop the hammer
in a heartbeat
and relish the moment.
Oh, in a heartbeat. Yeah, in a heartbeat.
Why would he not do that and piss off all these people who, I mean, find a more unifying thing the country cares about right now. Maybe politicians doing insider trade, or trading stocks, and the Epstein files. Those have to be the top two that everybody agrees with.
Right.
He's fighting those people and missing a chance to just absolutely bury his detractors.
Yeah.
In a way that he would just relish that. That the reason why it has to be something absolutely monumental, in my opinion.
Well, and so then the question is, so they've all voted. I think there was like one abstention or one no or something.
Clay Higgins voted no, and he did so. He has a legal background, and he said it's basically violating the law somehow. He's the guy that put Christopher Wray on the spot over the January 6th stuff, and like, again, I'm not saying I don't even know his argument entirely. I probably wouldn't agree with it, but he's not Hillary Clinton's plan. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Put it that way.
So it does appear that almost all of them now, I have heard that some of those files aren't going to come out. There's some redactions. Now the question is the inflammatory stuff. I mean, so there's two possibilities. If that does exist, if it is as monumentally explosive as you're hypothesizing, which it does fit all of everything we know, it does fit that. If that is the case, then there's only two possibilities. He's setting everything up in such a way that he'll be okay, and he'll minimize as much damage to the things he cares about as this stuff comes out, but it is coming out. The other possibility is that there's some part of that's true, and there's going to be redactions that take place that are going to extend this even further into the oh, well, we really haven't seen it all yet. It's we've released it all except for a couple of things, and a couple of things turns out to be a few thousand documents or whatever, and we keep talking about this for years to come.
Yeah,
and I don't know.
I'm just gonna put in a search here: Epstein redactions, national security, and see what comes up, because I did hear that there would be redactions based on. Here's something again. I don't know if this is true or not. This is just there's a number of things that came out like this that basically said we can't release the full Epstein files without redactions due to national security concerns. Okay, now whether that's a quote or not,
that's a pretty broad brush.
It is. So they've said they're going to release these things within 30 days, and then immediately also said that we have to do some redactions because there's national security concerns. You got to be careful with this kind of stuff, right?
Sure.
Which opens up a whole new can of questions for me.
Oh yeah.
But then also with that thing of telling the Attorney General Pam Bondi to start an investigation, now there might be things they say, well, we can't release that because it's an ongoing investigation.
Well, yeah. So this is where we're at, Brian. I mean, are we? And this, if we are at the place where, because of that and because of investigation and national security concerns, that there's still a big chunk of documents that we don't get, then all we've done is kick the can down the road some more.
Right.
And what is the attitude of everybody going to be if that is apparently what has been happened now? It's going to hit the fan. I mean, it's going to just blow up.
But here's the political playbook that I think they're relying on that I don't think is going to work in this case. The political playbook is, again, I'm not a political guy. You and I talk about societal things and like what it feels like to be in this moment, but I'm anything but a political strategist. I just recognize what I see.
Right.
what I've seen is they kick the can down the road until another crisis comes up that wipes everybody's memory of the previous crisis.
Wag the dog, all that.
I think they're counting on that. You just kick the can down the road long enough, and then something big will come up, and then that'll become the thing. And what there's like a saying about people's memory on news is like 7 minutes or something like that. Like you just have to make it till the next news cycle. Like this is the playbook, right?
Right.
I think they're counting on that, but I think people are so dug in on that. Like the populace is so dug in on this, it's not going to work.
No, I don't think it would. I don't think could possibly work. And one of the reasons it couldn't possibly work, the reason that works is when you have a big chunk of people on one side or the other, your base on one side or the other, that will stand behind you with that. But the Trump base has shown that, this is one, as we talked about earlier, this is one of those issues that they're not going to, he doesn't have wiggle room on.
They value this issue more than they value him in office, which is unlike most other things. Like the tariffs, people mostly don't get it. They're like, okay, it seems like it's going to raise prices, but whatever. You won, and we don't have Kamala in place. Like, okay, it's not a hill we're going to die on.
Right.
This is different. This is a hill people are going to die on, I think. And so the longer they kick the can down the road, maybe they're just waiting for people to die. I mean, honestly, I'm not even joking about that. Like, maybe there's like people who are in their 60s and 70s, like, we just got to extend this 20 years till these people are gone because, like, but it seems more and more apparent, likely to me that what would be exposed if there was true transparency is just so horrible that people would be like, we got to burn the whole thing down. Like if you have a structure in place that allows that kind of behavior,
right?
And the kinds of things we're talking about here are on such a level of awfulness and horrendous behavior.
Disgusting.
If not only if our institution allows this, but my tax dollars went to fund this,
right?
Like, I think there would be like true like blood in the streets, or not blood in the streets, pitchforks in the street kind of a thing,
Well, I mean, one of the theories out there for a long time has been that Epstein was basically just a government employee, and he was using. I mean, it's an old playbook as exists is use sex to get secrets and to get compromising information on world leaders, and I mean, so maybe what is the reality of this, that maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't, who knows, is that he was just 100% on the government payroll the whole time. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, I have not heard, and I've listened to reporters, I can't cite which ones off the top of my head. I don't know but there's certain reporters I've come to trust, like Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, like there's this kind of cohort. Glenn Greenwald, honestly, is kind of a guy that I've kind of come to believe that he does his due diligence. And I'm not citing those three guys specifically. I'm saying there's a cohort of people who are like independent investigative journalists that I kind of come to believe more than I do CBS or Fox News or CNN or whatever it is, right? Many of those have said things like, nobody can explain where his money came from. Epstein's money came from.
Yeah.
He got fired as a school teacher, which he was hired to be a math teacher with no degree in education at one of the most prestigious schools in New York City. Okay, so that's weird. But he's fired from that job. He goes to work on Wall Street, and then he kind of disappears, and he just shows up as a guy who's like a multi-billionaire.
Yeah.
Nobody can explain where he got his money from. Well, who has the ability to like throw billions of dollars at people besides governments?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I'm sure I'm reading way too much on stuff. I'm completely off track on other things. But it seems to me like the only plausible explanation for the radical behavior by Trump, who was ego driven and has been so on point on some of these other things.
I think, if you look back throughout history, one of the things that has always been fascinating to me is when there are classified things that stay classified for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. There are things, as I understand at least, that are still marked classified from World War I. I mean, what possible thing could exist?
They just declassified things from Amelia Earhart's disappearance, which was in the 30s. Was the 30s?
The 30s.
The 30s?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, so how is it? I mean,
years were going on.
So what? So how is it that something? I mean, I could understand the explanation I've had for that from seen of that over the years has been, well, we're waiting till certain people die, because we don't want them in their 80s to be, raked up in front of a grand jury or something. We want them, because there's no point. It's like, okay, well, I suppose that's plausible, but there's still stuff that's classified from times past where nobody really even knows the history of it anymore. Nobody who's not a history geek even knows history, but it's still classified. What is there about our system that makes that reasonable? And I don't have a good answer for that.
I don't think it's about our system. I think it's just about human nature.
Yeah.
Information is power.
Sure it is. Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's been that way for thousands of years.
Yep.
And secrets are power.
Yeah.
And they're leverage, and you can change people's behaviors. You can change why they do how they vote on things. You can change how they spend their money. You can change what they talk about and what they don't. Like, sure. Secrets are the right secrets are absolute power.
Well, if they're secrets for 80 years, then it has to be secrets that are damaging to people that have had power for 80 years.
Or the institutions that hold the power today.
Or the institutions, right. Yeah,
so,
which undermines, it would have to undermine, that's why I say system, it would have to undermine the basic confidence in the fundamentals of the system for it to be that important.
I'll make up a completely implausible, nonsensical thing. Like, so they just released a thing about Amelia Earhart. It's been 95 years or whatever they have that classified.
Yeah.
If something was found in there, which it didn't, I'm making this up completely, but sure. If something was found in there where somehow she landed in an island and a ship was not able to rescue her, she was whatever, but the U.S. government got word of where she was and they chose not to go get her because somebody's pissed that she was a female pilot. That would be pretty damaging to the institution that made that decision. Now, again, that's all nonsense, but I can see why they would want to keep a thing like that secret.
Yep.
It all makes perfect sense. And this Epstein thing just kind of smells of that. And I really am, I'm being completely sincere here. I am terrified about what it's going to look like if it comes out and all the worst possible cases are true, or even some of them are true.
Yeah.
People are going to be absolutely loathing the institutions and the government structure and this all that. It's scary to even think about.
It could be
lots of things are scary to think about. This is right up there.
It could be, we're constantly, looking at, well, what are the triggering events for the fourth turning crisis, for those kinds of things.
Right.
This is up there in that category.
Yeah.
Oddly, it's up there in that category.
People care about little kids getting hurt in ways that they shouldn't
more,
be. And they really care about big institutions taking advantage of people. It's unthinkable.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, as Dave mentioned in the beginning, if there's anything we've talked about you think we're especially on point with or especially full of crap on, we'd love to hear your feedback. We're trying to explain to future generations what it's like to live through this moment in time as all kinds of chaos is happening as we are in our fourth turning or the apex of the pendulum, whichever theory you subscribe to. As you mentioned, you can go to unsilentpodcast.com. Rumble has a great comment section. You can leave us your thoughts there. And until next week, this is Dave and Brian saying goodbye.
See you next week.
Do you want to be on Silent? Make your voice heard on our social media channels and share where you think we got it right or wrong. Go to unsilentpodcast.com for social links so you can join the discussion.